Hey guys, Slaughter Magic here with a very overdue video, but I've been traveling and working and, injuring myself as usual. I'm actually editing this left-handed. Been a hell of a week, but, boy, speaking of damaging things, Historic Anthology 5 is coming out, or is out, or who cares? So if you're wondering why they keep referring to Magic the Gathering as an esport, it's because they're trying to speedrun how quickly they can kill Historic, which is, of course, a digital-only format on MTG Arena. And speedruns are pretty hot right now, so I'm actually looking forward to them losing their last person in Historic. Oh, that's not true, that's not true. Technically, you need 2 people to prop it up, so it would be 1 person waiting in the queue, and then we could deem it dead. Anyway, let's start with Whirler Rogue. Oh boy. Wow, that looks really Kaladeshi for an Origins card. Did they redo the art? Anyway, 4 cost 2/2 when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless Stopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, like, for example, those Stopters. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Oh, good. Unblockable creatures and artifact affinity, potentially. That's what we need. Next up, voron klex. We know the prators were here, but I didn't read them the last time around. So 7/6 for 8. Trample, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced, so basically double mana. And then whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So it takes 2 turns to untap their lands. Well, I've seen cards that say your opponent's lands don't untap ever. Still not banned from Modern, by the way. Still not banned from anything, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this is bad. I mean, it's like, yeah, it costs 8, so it's like borderline unplayable, except people are just going to free cast and cheat this in. I mean, this is going to be like Tybalt, turn 2 Tybalt. Just, here you go, I have a voron klex. I mean, I'm literally going to update my deck with it if I feel like trolling Historic for 5 minutes and then giving up with the rest of everybody. Can you imagine this being your Brawl commander in Historic Brawl, and then the whole deck is just ramp? Oh my god. Hydroid Crisis, we're coming back around for you. Back the bus up. Next up, Vault Scourge. Phyrexian mana, I guess, is something that we need in our lives on Arena. Even though it's arguably, but quite possibly, the worst thing ever made in the game, period. I mean, a lot of people, if we took a vote, would say Phyrexian mana. It is more of a fundamental flaw in the game than Companion, and Companion lets you start with 1/2 of a combo and 8 cards in your hand. I mean, I'll be honest with you, if you don't say Phyrexian mana or Infect, you're probably just wrong. It's one of those two. So yeah, I mean, this is not important. I've never even heard of this card, but it's like, I just don't want to see Phyrexian mana. I just don't. So this is 1 or 2 mana, depending upon if you want to burn 2 life. That's how it works. 1/1 flyer, but it has lifelink, so you're going to get it back. And it's an imp, so there's your tribal. I don't see why this was necessary at all. It's got to be some kind of death trigger thing, but this doesn't like loop resurrect, so... you can see what the intention was with every card that they added. It's like, oh, that's a slight upgrade for this deck, while they're trying to micromanage tier 1 into like a 10 deck diverse format. You know that giant pile of dinosaur dung from Jurassic Park 1? That would be like taking that and sculpting it into a sandcastle. Oh, look, you made it into something constructive. Wow, you put in a lot of effort and that's the final thing. It's still made out of shit. The whole thing is still one giant pile of stinking shit, and that is Historic right now. I mean, they added in, like, infinite combos, extra turn, infinite crap, just Charbelcher up until the ban announcement, like, yesterday. It is a joke right now. Just Goblin Rush, Elf Tribal, like, you name it, if it's toxic, they put it in, or they're planning it. It is irreparable. Don't play it, obviously, but we could sit here and laugh at it. You know, it doesn't mean I'm not going to cover it, just because it's a dead format that nobody wants to play in their right mind. So next up, we got Red Guy Prator. He's a 4/4 for 5, so he's the weakest one between them, I guess. Let's see. Creatures you control have haste. So, I mean, you could just run anything else that does that. And then creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. I just realized these all kind of have, like, swing both way things that are, like, related to each other. It's like haste and then anti-haste. And then, well, spoiler alert, Elish Norn is probably the most powerful of all of them. So, I mean, a decent card. It's just, haste and then 5 costs, those two don't go together. Not in the color red. Next up, Trash for Treasure. What did red need? Artifact Resurrection, obviously. So, you pay 3, sorcery, I don't know what the hell that set symbol is. And, as an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice an artifact, then return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, artifact, ETB, and death shenanigans coming? I mean, I'll take an artifact deck that isn't in blue for once, but still, artifacts are just like a problem, just a period. But especially in Modern, it's been like 9 years of people calling for them to ban Arcbound Ravager, and they still haven't. And I think like people still don't even play it now. Like people just given up on that deck because Modern changed so much. But the goal is not to piss people off for like 7 years and then just have them outlive the deck. Okay, that's not a proper way to manage anything. Next up, Stifle. Now see, this one I could agree with. Usually they put in like 4 absolute gems, 4 absolute disasters, and the rest are just kind of interesting filler, but who cares? So Stifle goes on my good list because this is amazing. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Unfortunately, with the power creep in Standard, I think we have a better version of this that costs like 2 or 3. I don't remember what it is, but it's like, maybe it costs 4, but it's like a hyper powerful counter spell that just counters anything. Doesn't matter if it's an ability or whatever. I know we have one for 4 that pushes it off the stack, like in mass. But I mean, 1 and 4, that's kind of a bit of a difference when it comes to counter spells and leaving mana open. But I could have sworn we had something like this for 2 that had like a bonus on it, like a scry or something, or like exile the card, or it included some type of spell. I don't know, so that's kind of a shame because Stifle's freaking amazing, but I don't know, hopefully somebody does something with it. I will say, burning one of the cards in your hand so you now have 1 less card to play with, and, taking a slot in your deck and just, you guys know how cards work, to 1-to-1 kill one of your opponent's spells, and eliminating one of their cards from play, sending it to the graveyard. I mean, if it costs 1, okay, you're probably an idiot. And if it costs, 7, then you got out on the good way there. So you're not really trading 1-to-1 as 50-50 and you didn't progress the game. It's like, no, you destroyed their best hope for winning. There you go. That's how you properly use counterspells. So the 1-to-1 trade-off seems like a mathematical flaw because you also have to play your deck and try to win. So then if you're a card down and they're a card down, but then also your deck has to do something else to actually win the game, you're never going to win. But it doesn't work that way because of how powerful the strikes are. If you really target them well and you really know your opponent's deck and you take down the one thing that they can't live without, you are going to win because of it. You're going to set them back so far, you'll just speed right past them. Why am I bringing this up? This doesn't trade for a card. Now, it can stop a creature's ETB effect, and if that's the only reason they're playing it, then okay, I get it. You kind of traded a card for a card, except they get to keep the creature. But, generally, you can stop 1 Planeswalker ability without actually getting rid of the Planeswalker, or you can stop like 1 devastating trigger, but then you're down a card and they're not. I mean, maybe they caused the trigger with a card, but maybe they didn't. Maybe it's just an activated ability of a card, or a triggered ability of a permanent. So that's why this card never seemed tactically sound to me, but I mean, if you really, really destroy them, or you're already outdrawing them 3-to-1, go for it. So you gotta be careful with this. A lot of people put it in their deck and then find their top decking and their opponent comes back. So next up, Silumgar's Command, because we just had to go back to Khans of Tarkir, one of the absolute quickest declines of the standard meta ever. It went from fun, interesting, yay, if I'm not mistaken, Landfall, I think that was right before it, and kind of low-powered fun stuff and a huge deck variety, to just $800 decks in Standard. F*** you. Get out your credit card or quit the game, peasant. Then we had just Ojutai crap. We had, 3-color control garbage. Ugin ramp trash, I think, was part of that. I mean, Standard went so far off the cliff so quickly when Khans of Tarkir came out. Well, the whole block, the Tarkir block. Why would they ever want to remind us that it existed? And then with one of the command cards, which were amongst the most hated cards from that set. Amazing. So anyway, this is a 5-cost instant. Choose 2 modes out of 4. Counter target non-creature spell. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. Which both are, obviously pathetic for 5, but okay. And then target creature gains -3/-3 till end of turn. And then destroy target planeswalker. So this is not one of the better command cards, but they threw it in as a quad modal super options card, which, I mean, yeah, any format like Historic could use these. It's just, I don't want to be reminded that Tarkir was ever a thing, ever again. And Silumgar control decks made me want to get violent with my opponents. So anyway, next up we got Sheoldred, Whispering One. So I did read this in the last reveal for the secret lair for these, but yeah, this card's insane. 6/6 for 5, Swamp Walk. So if they have a swamp, unblockable 6/6, if you don't remember how that works. And at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So just 100% recurring resurrection for 0. Don't tap her, don't pay mana, nothing, just free. That's ridiculous. I mean, for 7 you might say, oh, well, okay, but I mean, even in Modern, let's be honest, that's ridiculous. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacks a creature. So when this comes into play, you blow it away or you lose. I really hate that card. Next up, Relic of Progenitus, because we had to drag Progenitus into this mess. It's a 1-drop artifact, which is never problematic in any format. And if you tap it, target player exiles a card from their graveyard. And then if you pay 1, exile Relic of Progenitus, exile all cards from all graveyards, draw a card. We literally have a card that does exactly word for word this, if I'm not mistaken, already in Standard. Isn't it that lamp, the lantern or whatever? Now see, I personally don't give enough of a shit to check, but if you want to go look it up, that's on you. My guess is it probably costs like 2 or something. I don't know, so now we're like, oh, we have it for half. Okay. The only reason this became necessary is because you really need cards out of certain opponents' graveyards because they do this obnoxious, broken, degenerate graveyard recursion crap. And like, you need something more recurring and more like durable that you can hit them with over and over and over with instead of just, I don't know, like Tormod's Crypt or whatever, where you just bomb them all at once. But I've got an idea. Don't add this, and then don't add the need for it either. Because obnoxious graveyard strategies are obnoxious. Next up, Reverse Engineer. Odd include here. Improvise, which I believe is... I forgot what the equivalent is, but you can basically tap artifacts to pay for the spell. So it's, what is it? Convoke? But only for artifacts, so it's like limited convoke. So yeah, they're trying to push artifacts, and now this is blue. So I guess blue-red artifacts, and we're going to see Artificer cards too? I don't know where they're going with this. They're probably just going to reprint Arcbound. Anyway, 5 cost, but not really sorcery, draw 3 cards. So basically just degenerate hell of a card if you're running artifacts. So hooray for Artifact Affinity, the most beloved deck in the history of the game. Next up, here it is, Ojutai's Command. Fun. So this is a 4-cost instant. Choose 2 out of the 4 modes. Return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh my god, I remember what people used to res with that. You gain 4 life. Who gives a shit? That's if you have absolutely nothing better to do. Counter target creature spell. That's the problem. And then draw a card. 4 things that you would want to do. Well, 2 that you'd want to do specifically, and then 2 that you would just want to do anytime. So basically, if you got room in your deck and you're running these colors, run this card. I mean, it's almost like an auto-include. It's just not direct. It's just like, oh, those things are nice. But people would just run this in like a 3-color control. They just throw in black too, and there you go. That, of course, would be called the legendary Esper control deck, named after the Pokemon Esper, because anybody running it would just stare at you with dead, vacant eyes the whole time they're playing it. Thus, that's why they called it Esper. A lot of people spell it wrong. They spell it with an E, and then they say something about like some shard of Alara or something, whatever the hell. No, it's named after the Pokemon, obviously. We know the archetype of person that plays 3-color control. They're not all there mentally. They are not socially present enough to realize what a dick they're being. They have 0 self-awareness. They're just a little f***ed in the head, thus nicknaming it an Esper deck run by Esper people. So a little history lesson for you. But yeah, f*** this card. So next up, Ray of Revelation. It's a 2-cost that has destroy target enchantment, and then flashback 1 green. That is about as weirdly unnecessarily specific. I mean, doesn't disenchant cost 1? But no, we had to put flashback off color 1. That's going to make all the difference. Everybody's going to rush out to play this. Why does this exist? Why is that a thing? Anyway, next up we got Murphell Gluter. Oh boy, I believe that was the root of the term looter. So, God, I hate Murfolks. Oh, and it's another rogue too. Great. So it's a 1/1 for 2. You tap it, draw a card, then discard a card, aka a looting effect. AKA going to get more degenerate control and draw cards. Yay. Next up, Kolagon's Command. Oh my god, they're all in here, aren't they? Why don't they just put Boros Charm in here? Wait, didn't they do that in one of the anthologies? Anyway, Kolagon's Command, 3 costs. Yay, choose 2. Okay. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Great. Target player discards a card. Alright. Discard or destroy target artifact. Great. And then it deals 2 damage to any target. Great. Once again, none of that necessarily game ending, but I mean, get something back that could be huge. Make them discard a card. That's pretty much universally pretty good. You want an artifact gone? Okay, that's nice if it's, if that's relevant. And then 2 damage. You never know. Could take out a planeswalker. Could finish somebody off. Could force them into a certain blocking arrangement. I mean, you never know. It's just 4 things that are like nice, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to run this as like the pinnacle of the central strategy of my deck. That's really how all the commands work. It's usually just like a dickish show-off card that people would also include on top of a really broken deck. So next up, Jin Gatexius, which I almost always call Gatexius, but no, I got it right this time. Core Augur, he costs 10, so nobody's ever going to pay that. Although, I mean, green-blue ramp. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, he's coming out for free off of Tybalt. But Flash, great. 5/4 at the beginning of your end step, draw 7 cards. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. So they have to ditch all their cards at the end of their turn. And then at the end of your turn, you draw 7 cards, which honestly is just asking you to like deck yourself. You have very few turns before your deck runs out of cards. But every single thing they pull is use it or lose it. I gotta say, I don't think this guy is very powerful, but he has very specific strategies that he works with. Next up, Into the North. It's a 2-cost sorcery from, what is that, Ice Age? I think that's what the icicle symbol is, but search your library for a Snowland card. There you go. Put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So this is one of the ones where, like, you can tell what they were going for. They want snow to become a thing in Historic because, ooh, one more deck for the deck variety. Yeah, no, nothing competes with goblins or elves. So you can take your Snowlands and shove them up your ass for all I care. Next up, Intangible Virtue. Oh, here we go. I bet this is meant to work with artifacts, although now we're on the 3rd color, but okay. Yeah, creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. I've always thought this is an overpowered card, and I think it's honestly still about 30 cents on the open market, if I remember correctly. So people do not appreciate this card properly, but yeah, this is batshit crazy. Anything from Saprolings to Spirits to just literally anything, this will, in most cases, because most tokens are 1/1s, just double them and then give them vigilance. I mean, it's really, truly insane. And it's one of those cards that really needed Legendary put on it, but nope, didn't feel like it. Next up, Icor Wellspring. It's a 2-cost artifact, and when it enters battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So ETB, draw a card, gets killed or destroyed, draw a card. So it's meant to be sacked. Well, the red spell will sack it, but I mean, I don't know if those 2 cards make a deck by themselves, but I don't know. They usually have something in mind. I haven't even followed what sets are legal in Historic or what decks people play, so I don't give a crap. But I'm sure this enables something degenerate with artifacts and affinity and tapping them and extra cards and all that. Yeah, I mean, look what set this is from. We all know that this is a problematic card. Next up, Grizzly Selvage. It's a 2-cost instant from RTR. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or land card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Well, combo enabler, but in those colors, I mean, whatever. I'm not that worried, but still, cards like this are dangerous. Oh, and here we go, my favorite one. Dramoka's Command, a 2-cost. Instant, choose 2. Prevent all damage that target instant or sorcery spell would deal this turn. So, very narrow, but okay. Target player sacks an enchantment. Insanely powerful, especially for 2. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That's what the Dramoka's decks did. Holy crap, look at the siege cards. And then target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. This is the most ungodly overpowered command card that was ever printed in the set by far. And it's also the cheapest one, and it was also in one of the best color combinations. This card was so annoying, and if I remember correctly, I think this thing hit like 20 bucks. I mean, prevent damage, okay, whatever, who cares? You might be able to keep yourself alive. Just ignore that one. Then sack an enchantment. Yeah, somebody was playing an enchantment. I could virtually guarantee that. Then a 1/1 counter. I mean, that's huge. You put that on a flyer, something on the ground, trampler, lifelink, whatever. You're going to get more of a benefit than just the counter, basically, at least in the decks at the time. And then a force fight. I mean, that's a removal. And remember, you get to do 2 of these. Holy crap, you can put a counter on and then force fight something. So I'm not happy that they brought this back, but also I have absolutely no interest or stake in Historic whatsoever, so who cares? Watch it burn. I'll get the popcorn. Next up, speaking of that, Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, or Cenobite, who knows. So 7 costs 4/7, reasonable to get out. I mean, not easy, but reasonable. Vigilance, okay, I wouldn't risk swinging with her, but other creatures you control get +2/+2, and then creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. What the f***? You just play this and then they forfeit. This is get to 7 and win. I mean, it might as well just be Ugin. I think it costs 8, but still, same concept. The only way your opponent is winning after this comes into play is if, 1, they can destroy all of your creatures instantly, or destroy this, I suppose, you know, duh. Or they don't need creatures to win. So they're running some, like, mill disasters, super friends, or some just AIDS cancer hybrid. Yeah, I hate this card. Next up, Dragonstorm. It's a 9-cost sorcery, so really doubling down on the free casting crap. Search your library for a dragon permanent card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and then storm. If this costs 9, how the f did you cast another spell that turn? So why do they even bother with storm? Well, now they're really counting on you free casting this, and in fact, probably free casting this with the use of another instant or sorcery. I don't remember how storm cards work. If it just says storm, doesn't it count itself once or something? Or I don't think it works that way. I don't know. I never play storm because even I have some standards. Whatever, who gives a crap? I mean, the golden rule of Magic is never mix a tutor with a free cast, because that has been so historically f***ed. I think we had 3 of them in standard lately that did that, actually, a tutor with a free cast. So next up, oh yeah, saw this coming. It's a Tarka's command. 2 cost. I recall this one being pretty good too, actually. Choose 2. Your opponents can't gain life this turn. I mean, okay, temporary little, just whatever. Tarka's command deals 3 damage to each opponent. That's pretty big. A lot of people threw that one in. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Okay, wasn't very relevant at the time, but it's nice. I mean, especially with this costing 2. I mean, you can do this turn too. And then creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain reach until end of turn. That can just win the game, and you can do it defensively too. So the 2 commands that cost 2 mana are the strongest, and then as you go up in the mana costs in the command scale here, they get worse and worse and worse, and I think the dead-ass last worst one costs like 5. Now that's game balance. Next up, we got Court Homunculus. My god, is that an ugly son of a bitch. It's a 1/1 for 1, and it gets +1/+1 as long as you control another artifact, and also it's an artifact creature. I don't believe that artifacts would qualify as homunculi, but sure, we'll go with that. I don't know, more Affinity Junior crap. Let's move on. Ancient Grudge is next. We got 2 costs, destroy target artifact, and then flashback 1 green, because we needed that. And that's actually the last one. Thank God. This went on way too long. So, yeah, Historic is kind of irrecoverable, I guess would be the right descriptor. Really, none of these, not one single one of these cards is anywhere near as egregious as the worst of the worst from the last 4. So I'd like to say they learned something, but they didn't. If you like lighting money on fire and then flushing the ashes down the toilet, this is 4,000 gems to buy all these. Or you can burn wild cards, which are generally considered to be effectively free. Oh, 25,000 gold too, but you could just, enter 5 drafts with that. So, oh no, Wizards is doing a special bonus with that. If you spend your 25,000 gold on 5 quick drafts, then Wizards gifts you with the free additional bonus of not having to play Historic. Pretty good deal in my opinion. I would not drop gold or gems on this trash. I never even got the concept of it. It's like, okay, cool, you get 25 cards, or like, I don't know, do you get 4 of each, or who cares? But like, I mean, how many different decks have we seen here? I mean, this has got to be at least 10 different deck archetypes represented between the 25 cards, if not more. It's probably closer to 20. So if you plan to build, 15 different new Historic decks, or already own them and these are upgrades for it, then I guess you could buy all these cards at once. Otherwise, only buy and unlock the ones that you need. I mean, I ain't your like accountant / life coach, but I don't see any reason to buy all of these at once, and if you do, you're out of your damn mind. But then again, anybody who's dumb enough to buy this clearly plays Historic, so there's already something wrong with their head. They like, doing things that, like, actively are not fun, I guess. There's got to be some name for that mental disorder. I don't know what it is. I'm not a damn psychologist. I don't know what's wrong with these people. I don't know why anybody still plays Historic, to be honest. I guess if you play long enough, Arena is cheaper than MTGO, and they really just wanted to play Modern because they like high-level Magic for some reason. I don't know. I don't get it. I never will. But yeah, this is one of the more tame ones, for sure. We'll see if any of these end up getting banned, because that's usually how this goes, but I don't know. I don't know enough about the meta to be like, oh yeah, that one card drove that deck too far. I feel like from what I remember, none of these do that, but I reserve the right to say it's possible. So feel free to wantonly speculate down below in the comment section how much damage this particular load of crap will do to Historic, and I will see you guys next video.